Alright, I believe that we are live at the moment. Not entirely sure. Quickly go on my channel content real quick and make sure of this so I can announce that I am live. Yep, I am indeed live. Can I, here we go, get share the link, copy to clipboard. Let me go to, let's see, speed announcements, everyone, bada bing, bada boom. Alright, I believe, alright, so, I hope you guys can hear me alright. Yeah, you can. Alright, so if you guys don't remember before, in the New Year's, my plans for 2021 video, I said I would do like audiobooks. Well, I'm slightly doing that now. Originally they were going to be like videos, but because of how much it took for me to do To Be Beautiful, which I will be doing after I get all the other ones done, like I'm going to go in order from Count the Ways to whenever the end one is going to be, and then go back to Into the Pit and To Be Beautiful. So yeah. So I'm thinking, I'm not entirely sure, this may be like a monthly thing. Like kind of just sit down and just read. I don't know if it's gonna be, I don't know how often I'm gonna do it. I want to do it slightly often, but not too often. I mean, I guess this could like replace the ICN Q&As. Speaking of, we aren't doing those for a bit. I'll probably explain in the video because this isn't really much ICN. It's, you know, count the ways. Yeah. What? Anyways, but yeah, here we go. What? Bruh, I literally have. Alright, but obviously, if you guys don't already know, this is pretty grim story. So I'm just gonna say that right now. Boney, you're making some weird claims there, buddy. Okay. Now, obviously, if Funtime Freddy speaks, I'm gonna try to do some kind of impression, but obviously, I don't want to at the same time. All right, let us begin. But again, just keep us in mind that this is going to be a more darker story. It talks about death a lot, so I would, if you want to not hear anything about death, last chance to just get out of here. So yeah, here we go. Hi, Fred. It isn't Millie Fitzsimmons. I think that's it. Yeah, Fitzsimmons. A deep, booming voice said. In the darkness, it was hard to tell exactly where it was coming from, but it felt like it was all around her. Silly Millie, the ice-cold goth girl who was always dreaming of death. Am I right? Who are you? Millie demanded. Where are you? Above her, a large pair of terrifying blue eyes rolled backwards, looking down into the chamber. I'm right here, silly Millie. Should I say, you're right here. You're right inside my belly. In the belly of the beast, I guess you would say. This... Okay, so I have a tendency to just, like, stop reading and just kind of give my thoughts on stuff. The way this is saying, the way this is, like, worded is just a little odd. Like, I know the context that, you know, I know Funtime Freddy has, like, a storage tank that's used to, you know, grab children and just eat them in. But, like, like, you know, I'm sorry, I cannot, like, that is actually hilarious. Let me actually quickly also message in the thing proper real quick. I guess I would go self-promo. Screw it. Self-promo. Bam, even though it's my own server, but technically not my own server, or whatever. Every time I just kept thinking like, okay. So, you're the bear? Millie wondered as... So you're the bear? Millie wondered if she had... Millie wondered if she had fallen asleep after she climbed inside the old robot. She was dreaming. This was all too weird. Oh. You could just think of me as a friend. Your friend till the end. Well, we just have to decide if the end is going to be slow or quick. I don't understand. Sorry. Yeah. The space was starting to feel claustrophobic. She tried the door. It wouldn't budge. You'll understand very soon, Chilly Millie. You know, you should have said you'll see. You should have said you'll see right there, buddy. You'll see, Chilly Millie. You goth girls crack me up. All dressed like professional mourners. So serious all the time. Daydreaming about death like he's the lead singer of some boy band. And that when you meet him, it'll be love at first sight. Well, Merry Christmas, Ellie. I almost said Ellie. Merry Christmas, Millie. Okay, first up, Bonnie, I can't speak Spanish that well. I only know very little. I only know how to count to one, from one to... No, Bonnie, I don't know Mexican. If anything, I would probably get Yeti to do it, but still. I'm gonna make your dreams come true. It's not a question of if, but how. What is happening? She was definitely awake. Has she lost her mind? Descended into madness? Into madness for having a madness when. Like a character in an Edgar Allan Poe story? I'd like to get out now, she said. Her voice sounded small and shaky. Nonsense, the voice said. Okay, listen, okay, you know what? I'm not even going to pay attention to chat because it's just distracting me, so I'm just going to... There we go, much better. You're going to stay in here, all nice and cozy, while you work on how... wait. Sorry, I can mess up a lot, so just bear with me. Sorry about that. You're going to stay in here, all nice and cozy, while you work out how you're going to have your dream date with death. The choice is all yours, but it'll be my pleasure to present you with some options. Okay, I like how he's like obviously he's trying to kill her, but I like how he's like kind of, I guess, formal. Like, he doesn't like immediately just yoink. He's just like, I'll let you choose. You know, slow or quick. It's interesting. It's something to think about, at least to me. Options on how to die? Millie felt the cold, metallic taste of fear in the back of her throat. Fantasies about death were one thing, but this felt like a reality. Oh, okay, so this is one of those backstory things. I was just making sure that it wasn't actually Funtime Freddy speaking. Yeah, it's just, for some reason it's just after this. Millie, what a stupid name. She was named after her great-grandmother, oh dear Lord, Millicent, I don't know, Millicent Fitzsimmons. But Millie wasn't the kind of name you sound a person with. A cat or a dog, maybe, but not an actual human. Millie's black cat was named Annabelle Lee after the... Oh. You know, Millie's black cat was named Annabelle Lee after the beautiful dead girl in Edgar Allan Poe poem. Or in the Edgar Allan Poe poem. Which meant that Millie's cat officially had a better name than she did. But... Millie thought, It made sense that her parents would come up with such a ridiculous name. She loved them, but they were ridiculous people in a lot of ways. Flighty and impractical. The kind of people who would never think on how hard elementary school would be for a little girl whose name rhymed with silly. Her parents flitted? Is that how you say it? Flitted? I don't know. From job to job, from hobby to hobby, and now it seemed from country to country. Over the summer, Millie's dad has been offered a 1-year teaching job in Saudi Arabia. Her mom and dad had given her a choice. She can go with them. It'll be an adventure, her mom kept saying, and be homeschooled, or she could move in with a kooky grandpa for the year and start at the local high school. Talk about a lose-lose situation. After lots of crying and raging and sulking, Millie had finally chosen the cookie grandpa option over being stranded in a foreign country with her well-meaning but unreliable parents. And so now Millie was here in her strange little room in Grandpa's big, strange Victorian house. She had to admit, the idea of living in an old, sprawling, 150-year-old house where surely someone had to have died at some point suited her well enough. The only problem was that it was filled to the brim with her grandparents' junk. Millie's grandpa was a collector. Lots of people had collections, of course, comic books or gaming cards or action figures. But Grandpa didn't collect a specific type of thing, so much as accumulate a lot of different things. He was definitely a collector, but a collector of what? Millie wasn't sure. It all seemed very random. Looking around the living room, she could see old license plates and hubcaps hanging on one wall, old baseball bats and tennis rackets on another, a life-size suit of armor that stood guard at one side of the front door, and a mangy-looking taxidermy bobcat stood at the other side, its mouth open and fangs bared in a menacing fashion. One glass case One glass case in the living room contained nothing but old porcelain baby dolls with tiny teeth and staring glass eyes. They were creepy, and Millie tried to stay away from them, though they still showed up sometimes in her nightmares with those little teeth chomping at her. I feel like this is like a kind of a, what's the word I'm looking for? It's like a I guess a foreshadow of sorts with wait, did Plush Trap Chaser actually do that in Out of Stock? I don't remember. I don't know. Also, just because I feel like it. Hello, Joshua DC2 and PC. Hello. Alright, listen. I gave you a high. At least. Anyways. This is absolutely nuts. The new bedroom had been her grandma's sewing room, and it still contained the old sewing machine, even though her grandma had died before Millie was born. That's sad. Grandpa had moved into a narrow bed and a dresser to accommodate... Oh, I see. Okay, I didn't like it much context-wise. Let me see that again. Grandpa had moved in a narrow bed and a dresser to accommodate Millie and her belongings, and she had tried to make the room her own. She draped the bedside lamp with a sheer black lacy scarf so it gave off a muted glow. He's not even dead yet. She covered the dresser with dripping candles. Wait, what? Dripping candle? Oh. I was about to say, wait, what? And she hung posters of Kurt Carrion Kurt Carrion. Kurt Carrion. I'm just gonna say that now. Her favorite singer on the walls. In one poster, the cover design for his album, Rigor Mortis. Oh, actually, I just realized, isn't rigor mortis like a stage of death or something? I think it is, like a different kind of death or something. It's some part of the death process. I know that, or at least the body rotting. I should not know this, but yet I do. What is going on? Okay. I'm thinking this was probably a mistake, but I'm just gonna keep going because I want to, and I want to actually read the story. Kurt's lips were peeled back to reveal a set of metal fangs. A perfect red bead of blood glistened on its chin. The trouble was, though, that no matter how much Millie tried to match the room's decor to her personality, it never quite worked. The sewing machine was there, and the wallpaper was cream-colored and decorated with tiny pink rosebuds. Even with Kurt Carrion's fanged face glowing on the wall, there was something about the room that seemed sweet and old ladyish. Well, non-existent, for the record, I'd not expected you to even get into the stream, so... "Syrup's on," Grandpa called from the bottom of the stairs. This was how he always announced dinner, and yet he had never once served soup. "I'll be there in a minute," Millie yelled back, not really caring whether she ate dinner or not. She dragged herself off the bed and made her way downstairs, slowly, trying not to bump or trip at any of the clutter that seemed to fill every square inch of the space in the house. Millie met Grandpa in the dining room, where the walls were decorated with souvenir plates printed with the names and landmarks of different states he had visited with Grandma when she was alive. The opposite wall displayed replicas of antique swords. Let me just... Sorry, I just want to get rid of the chat right now, but I can't, so I'm just gonna... Much better. Now I can just stare at Bonnie whenever I want to stare at the chat. Okay. Then we met Grandpa in the dining room, where the walls were decorated with souvenir plates printed with the names... Oh wait, I just read that. The opposite wall displayed replicas of antique swords. Millie wasn't sure what those were about. Grandpa was every bit as weird as his collections. His wispy gray hair always seemed messy and wild, and he always wore the same ratty tan cardigan. He looked like he could play a wacky inventor in an old movie. "Dinner is served, madam," Grandpa said, setting a bowl of mashed potatoes on the table. Millie sat in her place at the table and surveyed the visually disgusting meal. mushy looking meatloaf, instant mashed potatoes, and creamed spinach that she knew had been packaged and frozen into a solid block until he zapped it in the microwave. It was a meal you could eat even if you didn't have teeth, which Millie supposed went with the territory of having an old person cook for you. Can we get back to Count the Ways, Funtime Freddy? I want to get back to that. The book is called Count the Ways, after all. Like, I know you're trying to give backstory to Millie, but come on. Millie loaded her plate with mashed potatoes, since they were the only edible thing on the table. "Now make sure you'll get some meatloaf and spinach, too," Grandpa said, passing her the bowl of greens. "You need iron. You always look so pale." I like being pale. Ain't that a mood? Ain't that a mood? Millie wore a sheer light powder to make her face look even paler in contrast to the black eyeliner and black clothing she favored. "Well," Grandpa said, helping himself to the meatloaf, "I'm glad you don't bake yourself in the sun like your mother did when she was your age. Still, you could use a little color in your cheeks." He held out the platter of meatloaf to her. "You know I don't eat meat, Grandpa. Meat was gross, and also murder." murder. Eat some spinach then, Grandpa said, spooning some out on a plate. Plenty of iron in it. You know, back when I learned to do the little bit of cooking I can manage. It was all about meatloaf. Meatloaf, steaks, roast beef, pork chops. But if you'll help me find some vegetarian recipes, I'll sure try to cook them up. It would be probably. Oh my dear Lord, I cannot speak. It would probably be better for my health to eat less meat, anyways. Millie sighed and pushed the spinach around on a plate. Don't bother. It really doesn't matter whether I eat or not. Grandpa set down his fork. Of course it matters. Everybody's gotta eat. He shook his head. There's no pleasing you, is there, girlie? I'm trying to be nice and figure out what you like. I want you to be happy here. Millie pushed her plate away. It's a waste of energy to try to make me happy. I'm not a happy person. And you know what? I'm glad I'm not happy. What kind of sense does that make? Happy people are just lying to themselves. And then I took that personally. Obviously, I'm always happy most of the time. I'm never really sad or anything like that. Well, if there's nothing in store for you but misery, I guess you might as well go get started on your homework, Grandpa said, and ate his last bite of mashed potatoes. Millie rolled her eyes and flounced out of the room. Homework was a misery. School was a misery. Her whole life was a misery. Again, ain't that a mood? In her miserable room, Millie opened up her laptop and searched for famous poems about death. Okay. She reread one of her old favorites, Annabelle Lee. The cat with the same name was curled up on the bed. It's kind of a bit of weird, if you ask me. I mean, reading a book that has death in it, but then naming a cat after a character that's dead. That just doesn't seem right to me. Just wait. Hey. Even though I don't have anything playing right now, I'm just gonna turn off desktop audio. And The Raven by Poe. Then tried one she'd never seen before by Emily Dickinson. The poem talked about death as a guy picking up a girl for a date with death. The thought made Millie lightheaded. She thought of death as a handsome black cloaked stranger choosing her as the one he would take away from this boredom and misery of everyday life. She imagined he looked just like Kurt Carson. Carry on. Inspired, she grabbed her black leather journal and began to write. Oh hey, what do you know? It's the thing. It's the thing. It's the poems. Yeah, boy. Oh, death, show me your ravaged face. Or show me now your ravaged face. Oh, death, how I long for your chilly embrace. Oh, death, my life is a misery that only you can set me free. Where have I heard that before? Set me free? I don't know. She knew poems didn't have to rhyme. But Edgar... I see where the next... Can't wait for the part is. Yay. But Edgar Allan Poe and Emily Dickinson rhymed. So she rhymed her poem too. Not bad, she decided. Sighing with the dread of what lay before her, she closed her journal and took out her homework. Algebra. What use was algebra in the face of human beings' inevitable mortality? None. None except that if she didn't pass the classes, her parents would cut off the allowance that her grandpa doled out to her every week. And she was saving up for more morning jewelry. She opened up her algebra book, picked up her pencil, and began. Man, I don't know why I'm tired. I just am. A few minutes later, There was a knock on the door. What? What? Millie snapped and slammed her book shut, as if she'd been interrupted by doing something she actually enjoyed. Grandpa nudged the door open with his foot. He was carrying a glass of milk and a plate of fragrant chocolate chip cookies. I thought you might need a little study fuel, he said. I know chocolate always did the trick for me. Grandpa, I'm not a little kid anymore, Millie said. You can't buy my happiness with a few cookies. Oh my lord, wow, this is like, jeez. Okay, Grandpa said, still holding the plate. You want me to take them away then? No, Millie said quickly. Leave them. She's saying that... that's funny. It's funny. Grandpa shook his head, smiled a little, and set the plate on the glass. Set the plate and the glass on Millie's bedside table. I'm going to putter around in my workshop for an hour or so, girlie, he said. Call me if you need anything. I won't need anything, Millie said, turning back to her algebra homework. She waited until she was sure he was gone and then devoured the cookies. Of course. As you do. As you do. Alright, count the ways, boy. Options on how to die. Exactly. This is the worst Funtime Freddy impression I've ever done. Actually, no, wait, the first I've ever done. This is still bad. The voice in the darkness said, You're catching on now. Bright girl that you are. Now, I'd call the first couple of options the lazy choices. They don't require me to do anything, but just keep you in here and let nature take its course. The advantage to these is that they're easy peasy for me, but not so easy to you. Slow, with lots of suffering. But who knows? That might appeal to you morbid sensibilities. Lots of opportunities for language? Language? Hold on. What the heck does this even mean? I bet it's like some kind of weird death way or something like that. I just have never heard this word before. Failing to make progress. Oh, failing to make progress or to be successful. Okay. I don't really know what that means, but okay. Lots of opportunities for languishing. You like languishing? What do you mean? Millie asked. Whatever the answer was, she knew she wasn't going to like it. Dehydration is one option, the voice said. No water at all. And you can start dying in as few as 3 days. Or as many as 7. You're young and healthy, so I'd put my money on it that you'll... Hey, now, let me just read this again. You're young and healthy, so I'd put my money on it, taking you a while. Since when do animatronics have money? That's just hilarious. He has money. Does he just have money just randomly in like one of his little compartments of his arm or something? Depriving the body of water has fascinating effects. With no fluids coming in to filter and flush, the kidneys shut down, and your body starts poisoning itself, making you sicker and sicker. Once those poisons have time to build up, you can suffer total organ failure, or a heart attack or stroke. But that's death for you. So glamorous. So romantic. Are you making fun of me? Wait. Oh, okay, I was about to say, it said the voice, and I thought, wait, did I just read Millie's lines? But no, obviously Millie doesn't know that much about death, just count the ways. Are you making fun of me? The voice that came out of Millie was tiny and soft. The voice of a scared little girl. Scared little girl. Agatha. That OST that plays whenever she's chasing you. Okay. Not at all, my dear. I like you, Millie, and that's why I'm here to make your wishes come true. Like a genie. Except you're the one who's trapped in the bottle. The voice stopped to chuckle. Starvation is also another classic, too, but that's really a slow-moving train. It takes weeks for the body to use up all its stored nutrition and break down all of its proteins and turn on itself. It can take weeks. Some people have even lasted a couple months. Millie knew her grandpa would rescue her before she could starve to death. That would never work. Grandpa comes in here to putter around after dinner every night. He'll find me. How? The voice asked. He'll hear me in here. I'll scream. Scream all you want, lamb chop. Lamb chop. It's soundproof. No one will hear you. And anyway, after a few days, you'll be too weak to scream. Okay, even though he's talking about death, I do like his personality. Huh. Very interesting. Oh boy, we got another one of these. Here's the thing. Okay, I'm obviously going to rate the book. I'm going to rate the story when I get to the end, but obviously I need to get to the end first, and I'm only at page 151 out of page 190 something. I think it was like 93. So I need to get on this actually and stuff. Getting distracted. Winter break was just 1 week away, and the whole school was decorated with wreaths, Christmas trees, and occasional menorah? I've never really heard that. No, we didn't know why people got so excited over the holidays. It was just a desperate attempt to invent some happiness in the face of life's utter meaninglessness. Okay, what is wrong with it? Okay. From this point out, I'm literally just gonna be reading the story. I'm gonna try my best not to just get off topic. Also, hold on 1 second. Alright, I'm good. Well, they couldn't fool her. People could wish her a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays until they turned Santa Claus red in the face, because she wouldn't say it back. Not that people were going out of their way to wish Millie well. As she walked down the hall to the lunchroom, one blonde cheerleader, Millie didn't even know her name, said, "I'm surprised to see you out in the daylight, Dracula's daughter." The cheerleader looked over at her equally blonde friends, whom she'd been talking to more than she'd actually been talking to Millie, and they all laughed. The Dracula's daughter thing was started because she had been carrying around a paperback copy of Bram Stoker's Dracula. And one of the jockey popular guys had said, "Oh, look how sweet, she's reading a book about her dad." From then on, she'd been Dracula's daughter. Of course, everybody knew she was really Jeff and Audrey Fitzsimmons' daughter, which made her almost as much as a misfit as she would have been if Dracula were her real dad. Oh my lord, there's a lot of reading. The Fitzsimmons were kind of a joke in the town, famous for the tendency to start projects with great enthusiasm and then abandon them. Where have I heard that before? I have heard that way too many times in my own personal experiences. That's really hit me pretty hard, actually. They had bought a run-down but once beautiful colonial house when Millie was 10 and had thrown themselves into refurbishing it. They had kept it up for about 3 months until they ran out of time, money, and energy. As a result, the house had weird patchwork quality. The living room and the kitchen were repainted and had new fixtures, but the bedrooms were still old, still having that peeling wallpaper and floors with squeaky boards. The bathroom pipes screamed when you turned them on. The bathroom pipes screamed when you turned on the water, and the ancient tub, sink, and toilet never looked clean no matter how much they were scrubbed. The most talked about thing, though, was the exterior of the house. Millie's dad had repainted the front and one side a nice soft blue cream trim. But paint was expensive, painting was exhausting, and he really didn't like getting up on ladders. As a result, the front of the house was painted beautifully, but the back and the other side were still covered with old, flaking white paint. Millie's mom said that nobody would notice. It was like when people arranged the Christmas tree so ugly so the ugly side faced the wall. People noticed, and people also noticed that the Fitzsimmons' inability to. People also noticed the Fitzsimmons' inability to keep a steady job. Millie's parents were always coming up with some new scheme that finally was going to bring them the success of their dreams. One year, her mom was making candles and selling them at the farmer's market, while her dad started a nutritional supplement store, supplement store, that closed its doors after 6 months. After that, her mom and dad started a store that sold yarn and knitting supplies, and they might have made a go of it if either her parents had known more about yarn and knitting, and then they bought a food truck, even though they were both terrible cooks. Wow. Millie couldn't understand why her parents could remain so optimistic with failure after failure. Should I talk to different sports? But they did. They attacked each new project with huge enthusiasm. Then a few months, both the project and the enthusiasm fizzled out. They weren't poor exactly. There was always food to eat, even if, towards the end of the month, it tended to dwindle to pancake mix and boxed macaroni and cheese. But there was always worry about how the bills would get paid. Ain't that motivation for you, starting out enthusiastic and then, oh, let's just animate, and then all of a sudden, 5 sessions in, you're just like, well, I lost all my motivation. Let's cancel it. Millie knew that her grandpa helped them out some months. Her grandpa was also considered weird in the town, but was cut some slack because he was old and a widower, and had been an excellent high school math teacher for many years. As a result, he earned the title of eccentric. Eccentric, instead of weird. Some people said that maybe by taking this teaching job in Saudi Arabia, Jeff was finally getting it together and following in his dad's footsteps. Millie knew, though, that her dad would fritter away this opportunity like he had so many others. So Dracula's daughter, or Jeff and Audrey Fitzsimmons' daughter, either one was a one-way ticket to being a social outcast. In the cafeteria, both of these stories have cafeterias, I just realized. Where a main thing of the story kind of pops in. Because, To Be Beautiful had the whole fiasco incident when, I believe it was when, I think Sarah slipped on either an orange peel or a banana peel. I think it was an orange peel. And then, obviously the necklace fell off and all that jazz. But, yeah, and then now this one, the cafeteria, which I believe this is where Millie meets, I think his name is Dylan, I don't remember. Wait, Yeti! And, in the cafeteria, Millie took a second to adjust to the deafening din of hundreds of teenagers talking and laughing. She walked past a table full of popular girls and saw her best friend from elementary school, Hannah. Every time I hear Hannah. Anyways, sitting with them, laughing at something all the other girls were laughing about. Millie and Hannah had been inseparable from kindergarten through 5th grade. Playing on the swings or jumping rope together at every recess and playing dolls or board games at each other's house after school. But in middle school, popularity seemed to be more and more important to Hannah as she drifted away from Millie and towards the crowd who was always giggling about clothes and boys. What Millie understood, but Hannah did not, was that those girls never accepted Hannah as more as a hanger-on. Hannah lived in a plain little house in a plain little neighborhood and didn't have the money or social status to make the cut. Popular girls didn't push her away, but they never let her into their inner circle either. It made Millie sad that Hannah preferred to accept crumbs from the popular girls rather than real friendship from her. But then, a lot of things made Millie mad. Sad, not mad. Millie sat alone, nibbling on the egg salad sandwich and apple slices that her grandpa had packed for her, and reading tales of mystery and imagination. Imagination! I'm sorry, I had to bring that up. She was managing to drown out all the cafeteria noise and focus on the story she was reading, The Fall of the House of Usher. Roderick Usher, the main character in the story, couldn't bear noise of any kind. But then she felt herself being watched. She looked up from her work to see a lanky boy with horn-rimmed glasses and frizzy hair that had been dyed fire engine red. Both his ears were studded with silver earrings. Millie coveted his black leather jacket. Hi, I was wondering, he nodded at the chair across from Millie. Is anybody sitting here? Was this guy asking to sit with her? No one's ever asked to sit with her. My imaginary friend, Millie said. Wait, was that a joke? She never joked with people. What kind of sense is this? She's having an existential crisis. No! The boy grinned, revealing a mouthful of braces. Well, would your imaginary friend mind if I sit in her lap? That sounds weird. Millie looked at the empty chair for a second. She says, suit yourself. Oh, wait, no, wait. Okay, I read that wrong. Sorry. She says, suit yourself. Okay, he said, setting his tray down. Thanks to both of you. I don't really know anybody here yet. I'm new. Nice to meet you. New. Oh my lord, are you serious? Did she really just do a dad joke? Are you serious? Wow. Okay, wow, I've been doing this an hour and I'm not even halfway through, I don't think. I'm Millie. What, was she a comedian now? Name's Dylan, actually. Hey, I was right, it was Dylan. I just moved here from... I don't know how to say this! Toledo! Oh, it's Ohio. Okay. It's Ohio. I was kind of wondering where that was. He gestured towards her book. His fingernails were short and polished black. A Poe fan, huh? Millie nodded. Me too, Dylan said. And H.P. Lovecraft. I love all the old scary writers. I've never read Lovecraft, Millie said. Better to be honest than to try to fake knowledge and talk herself into a corner. I've heard of him, though. Oh, you'd love him, Dylan said, dunking a cafeteria-issued chicken nugget into a puddle of ketchup. That's what I do. This man is literally just stealing my job of ketchup. Super dark and twisty. He looked around the cafeteria, his face a mask of disdain. So, is this school lame is this school as lame as it seems? Lamer, Millie said, marking her place in her book. And shutting it. The House of Usher wasn't going anywhere, and she couldn't remember when she'd last had an interesting conversation. Well, I'll tell you what, Dylan said, gesturing with the french fry. So far you're the only person I've seen here who seems cool. Millie felt her face heating up. She hoped a blush wouldn't pink it up harder. Thanks, she said. I like your jacket, and I like your earrings. She reached up to touch one of the black teardrops that dangled from his ear holes. Earlobes! Not ear holes, earlobes. Oh my lord. Thanks, the Jet. Victorian morning jewelry. Isn't that what Millie likes? I know, Dylan said. Wait, now I'm confused. What kind of conversation is this? He knew? What kind of high school guy knew about Victorian morning jewelry? I have a few pieces of it, Millie said. I mostly find them on eBay. eBay exists in the FNAF universe. eBay exists in the FNAF universe. Holy crap, it's actually true. I can't afford my favorite kind, though, which is... Dylan put up his hand. Wait, don't tell me. It's the kind where they weave the hair of the dead person on the jewelry, right? You can't tell what my face looks like, but my face is like a big disgust on it right now. Like, hair of the dead... Why? Why would you do that? Why would you do that? Yes, Millie said, shocked and amazed. Those pieces show up sometimes on eBay, but always cost a fortune. like the Freddy Fazbear action figure. The bell rang, signaling that lunch period was about to end. Dylan leaned toward Millie and half whispered, "Do not ask for whom the bell tolls." "It tolls for 3, Millie finished. Where did this guy come from? Toledo, sure, but how was he so sophisticated and knowledgeable? She had never met anyone like him. Dylan stood up. "Millie, it's been a rare pleasure. Would you and your imaginary friend mind very much if I joined you two at lunch tomorrow?" Millie felt the corners of her mouth twitch in an unfamiliar way. "We wouldn't mind at all," she said. "Back to count the ways, back to Freddy." See, I had thoughts about freezing you to death too," the voice said. "I thought I could short out the power in here, so turn the space heaters... I thought I could short out the power in here, so the space heater turns off and my metal body can get pretty cold. But I figured your grandpa would come in and notice the power was out in his precious workshop, and would fix it right away. So freezing your dad is a no-go. Sorry if you had your heart set on that one, sweet pea." Okay, count the way. Fuck, I'm pretty weird. Millie was shivering, not from the cold, but from fear. "I don't understand. Why do you want to kill me?" "It's just interesting you should ask," the voice said. "There are a couple of reasons, actually. The first is quite simply that it's something to do. I sat in a salvage yard for ages before this. Wait, let me try this again. The first is quite simple. It's just something I want to do. No, wait, I'm reading that completely wrong. The first is quite simply that it's something to do." It just gave me Alistair vibes, because he's like, "Why does everybody do anything? Sheer ultimate boredom." "I sat in a salvage yard for ages before your grandpa found me and brought me in here. Where I've just been sitting, too. Been bored out of my skull. Not that I have a literal skull, but you know what I mean." I feel like legitimately actually, letting someone, probably G-Man, do the count the ways when I've ready lines, just send them to me so I can animate it. Because honestly, I like his personality just by reading it. But then again, I'm also giving him this kind of personality as well. Aren't there other things you can find to do it besides killing people? No, wait. Aren't there other things that you can find to do besides killing people? Millie asked. Whatever this being was, it was obviously intelligent. Maybe she could reason with it. None so interesting. And plus, there's my second reason, which is that death is what you want. You've been mooning around since you moved here, talking about how you want to die. Well, I like to kill people. And you want to die. It's a mutually beneficial relationship. Like those little birds that pick the parasites off rhinoceroses. The bird gets to eat, and the rhinoceros gets rid of its itchy little bugs. We both get what we want. A win-win. Millie suddenly realized that she had spoken of death, written about it, but it had always been just an interesting idea to play around with. She never intended to make any action to make it a reality. But I don't want to die. Not really. A horrible rumbling sound surrounded Millie and shook the body of the machine that trapped her. It took her only a few seconds to recognize the sound as laughter. I guess that kind of makes sense. If Funtime Freddy's going nuts laughing, he's kind of bouncing up and down. Obviously, that would shake Millie because obvious reasons are obvious. And we have to go through another boring backstory. I do not like this. How long is this one? Oh dear. Oh wait. Are you serious? How long is this one? How long is this? Okay. What the heck? Oh wait. Okay, hold on. Okay, hold on. I'm sorry. Hold on. I just gotta see where's the next count the ways Funtime Freddy part? Oh no, here it is. Okay, it's just 2 pages ahead. Alright, fair enough. For dinner, Grandpa made spaghetti with marinara sauce, garlic bread, and Caesar salad. It was much better than the meals he usually sewn together. You're actually eating tonight, Grandpa said. Because this is actually good, Millie said, twirling spaghetti on a fork. Alright, I finally found something you like to eat, Grandpa said. I'll add it to my limited repertoire. I actually said that right, even though I haven't even really heard that word in a while. I'm shocked at myself right now. I kept the sauce meatless for you and added meatballs to mine. So everybody's happy. Herbivores and carnivores alike. Well, happy may be stretching it, Millie said, unwilling to admit that she actually had kind of a good day. But the spaghetti is good, and my day at school didn't totally stink. And what made that day less stinky than usual? Grandpa asked, spearing a meatball. I met someone who seems kind of cool. Really? A girl someone or a boy someone? Millie didn't like Grandpa's insinuating tone. Well, not that it matters, but it happens to be a boy. And don't try to turn this into some kind of love story, though. We just had a decent conversation is all. A decent conversation is something, especially these days. Most people your age won't look up from their phones long enough to say as much as a how do you do. Oh my lord, that hit hard. Grandpa said, not to put the cart before the horse, but I met your grandma when I was just a little older than you are now. So what, now you have me engaged to this guy I just met? Grandpa, I'm 14. Grandpa laughed. You're right, and you're right that you're much too young to be engaged. That would not even be right in the first place. And your grandma, not grandpa, your grandma and I didn't get engaged when we were teenagers either. But we were high school sweethearts, and then we went to the same college. How ironic is that? We got engaged our senior year of college and married in June, right after we graduated, he smiled. And all of it started with a good conversation at lunch, like you had today. So you never know. Slow down, old man, Millie said, fighting off a smile. Grandpa's eyes went soft and misty. I'm just reminiscing. I wish you could have known your grandma. Why do I keep saying grandpa? She was really something special. And to lose her when she wasn't even 40. It's like Annabelle Lee, Millie said. The poem? Grandpa asked. It was many a year ago in a kingdom by the sea. Yes, I guess it was something like that. You know Poe? Millie asked. It was weird to hear him recite one of her favorite poems. Grandpa was a math person. She didn't expect him to know anything about poetry. Don't judge a book by its cover, Millie. Come on. Believe it or not, I'm a pretty literate old dude. I like Poe and a lot of other writers too. I know you like Poe because he's dark and spooky, and it's easy to romanticize death when you're young, and it's so far away. But Poe didn't write about death because he thought it was romantic. He wrote about it because he lost so many of the people he loved. You've never experienced that kind of loss, Millie. It changes you, he went on. You know, for years after she died, friends were always trying to fix me up with some other women, but it never worked. She was the only one for me. I'm not crying. I'm not crying at all. That is just... I wish it hit me hard, but I'm not going to really explain, so... Millie had never thought about Grandpa's feeling before. What kind of... How he must have felt when Grandma got sick and died. How lonely he must have been after she was gone. How he might still be lonely now. That must have been hard, she said, losing Grandma. Grandpa nodded. It was. I still miss her every day. Well, thanks for dinner, Millie said. I guess I'd better get started on my homework. Without being asked, Grandpa said, smiling. This is certainly a special day. In her room, Millie didn't think of death. She thought of Dylan. And she thought about what Grandpa had said about Grandma. When she recited Annabelle Lee in her head at this time, it seemed like the poem about love instead of a poem about death. Silly Millie. Alright, back to count the ways. Silly Millie. For someone who doesn't want to die, you should spend a lot of time talking about it, the voice surrounding her said. But that's the way of things, isn't it? Talk is always easier than action. I think, Millie said, sniffling, that when I wanted to die, what I really wanted was to escape. I didn't want death. I just wanted my life to be different. Ow! But that really takes action, doesn't it? The voice says. Changing a life for the better, especially when that world is such a mean, rotten place. It's much easier and ultimately much more satisfying just to snuff it out. Which brings me to a second set of options, much more interesting ones. These are quick and easy for you, for the most part, but they require a little more effort from me. I'm not complaining, though. There's nothing I like more than a good challenge to relieve my boredom. Say, you like Dracula, don't you? Millie could barely find a voice to answer. Why, are you gonna bite my neck? How would I do that if I'm... I wanted to try to give... Let me try again. Now how would I do that when you're in my belly, silly girl? I know that you're a Dracula fan. The kids at school call you Dracula's daughter. How does he know that? How does he know that? He doesn't go to school with her. He doesn't have like some kind of illusion disc or something. What? Well, what you might not know is the character of Dracula was inspired by a real person, a prince named Vlad Dracula. But he's better known by his nickname, Vlad the Impaler. Oh, Vlad the Impaler. I feel like I've heard that before. Millie's insides seemed to turn into jelly. That's literally it. Oh, that's all it is. Vlad killed thousands of his enemies, but his crowning achievement was creating a forest of the impaled, where thousands of his victims, men, women, and children, were skewed through stakes, driven into the ground. Now, I'm no prince, and I can't aspire to that level of achievement, but one little old impaling can't be that hard, can it? I can just take one of my metal rods and drive it through my body cavity, and it'll go straight through you and to the other side. And if the spark goes through your vital organs, death comes quickly. If it doesn't, there can be some hours of bleeding and suffering. The people who walked through these forests of the impaled talked about how the moaning and gasping of the victims, so impaling. One may say other deaths impale in comparison. The voice's tone was cheery. It can work quickly or slowly, but the result is the same in the end. Like I said, win-win. Honestly, though, wow, I am doing a great job of Fun Time Freddy. I'm really capturing his personality. No, Millie whispered. She wanted her mom and dad. She wanted Grandpa. They would help her if they only knew. She even settled for goofy Uncle Rob and Aunt Sherry, as long as they would just come to her rescue. She would even put a Christmas sweater on if it made them happy. Okay, wow. Okay, hold on. Little break time. Quick break time. Alright, I literally had basically no Discord notifications. What is going on? Okay, what is... Okay. Okay, this person, I'm sorry, you're going in timeout. No, you're going in hide user, actually. And then you're going to be timed out. Oh my lord, that is bad. Why would you do that? And same with that guy. What the heck? Why? Oh, what is going on in here? What is... Okay. This might have been a big mistake. Oh my dear lord. Okay, what is going on? Okay, hello. Can you shush? Okay, wow. This was... I feel like this was definitely a bad idea, given the whole thing. Yeah, this... I am literally reading through the entirety of the chat. Oh my lord. What is going on? Okay, note to self. I am literally going to mute. Not even mute. I'm actually going to hide the chat replay if I can. No way I'm letting this go through. Jeez Louise, man. Anderson Anime. That guy sounds familiar. Hold on. Yeah, sorry. Hold on. Give me 1 second, guys. Oh, I knew he sounded familiar. He's an animator. Oh, nice. I actually got an animator on my stream. Nice. Huh. Cool. It's pretty cool, not gonna lie. Okay, Egan, honestly, I agree. I do not support these people that are in chat that are just spamming the things right now. Jeez, they are weird. Anyways, I guess I could just... Okay, now I'm confused. Wait a minute. Hang on 1 second. Oh, that would explain it. Okay. I was wondering if that sounded familiar. It's an anime. Wow, I have 2 animators in the stream. Huh. Weird. Okay, I did not actually expect animators to be in my stream. Like, at all. I did not expect that. Especially considering the fact that this is just... Anyways, I'm gonna just get back to the story. And obviously, a hard chat replay. Where was I? Millie sat at her table in the cafeteria expectantly. She had taken special care with her appearance this morning, choosing a lacy black top instead of a jet Victorian mourning necklace from her small collection. Her face powder enhanced her pallor, and her black eyeliner had the perfect cat-like effect. As minutes passed, she started to worry. What if Dylan didn't show up? What if she'd gotten all dressed up for nothing? What if, as she'd always suspected, life offered no possibility of pleasure or happiness? But then, there he was, with his leather jacket and fire engine red hair and shiny silver earrings. Hey, Millie said, trying not to sound like she was too happy to see him. Hey, he said, setting his tray on the table and sitting across from her. I bought you something. Millie's heart pounded in excitement. She hoped she didn't show it. He reached into the pocket of his leather jacket and pulled out a one paperback book. H.P. Lovecraft, he said. I was telling you about him yesterday. I remember. Millie said, taking the book, The Call of Cthulhu and Other Stories. Did I say that right? Cthulhu? Who knows, Dylan said. H.P. Lovecraft made it up. And he's dead, so we can't ask him. You can keep the book. I got a copy in hardcover for my birthday, if you're in. My parents are cool. They don't mind they don't mind that I like weird stuff. Thanks. She felt a little smile creeping up on her. She slipped the book into a bag. She would certainly read the book, but it wasn't the book itself that was making her feel all smiley. It was that Dylan had thought of her. While he was at home, not in her presence, he had thought of her, and found the book, and put it in his jacket pocket, and remembered to give it to her. In her experience, boys weren't usually this thoughtful. Where was I? After dinner, in her room, Millie started reading the H.P. Lovecraft book. Dylan was right. It was weird. Weirder than that Poe stuff. Than Poe's stuff. Even and scary in a way that it made it feel like spiders were crawling beneath her skin. But she loved it. It was a perfect gift for Dylan to give her. Millie wasn't all a flowers and candy kind of girl. After she read a couple stories, she opened her laptop and started Googling poems about death. She searched for poems about love, and she found the famous one by Elizabeth Barrett Browning. Browning. That began, How do I love thee? Let me count the ways. Count the ways. She had read the poem before and thought of it just as pretty words, but now she could appreciate the feelings behind the words. Strong feelings for the rare person who truly understood you and whom you understood in return. She took out her black leather journal, chewed on her pen, and thought. Finally she wrote, You clipped away the black body of... You clipped away the black thorny vines that twisted around my wounded heart, so it could beat and feel relief from pain. You are the gardener who wakes the plants from the gray, chilly death of winter, and so that they can blossom again, like my heart, a slow, blooming, blood-red rose. She read the poem back to herself and sighed with satisfaction. Her mood only darkened slightly when she had set her journal aside to start on her homework. No, pity. I always thought impaling has a certain dramatic flair. Perhaps something with a little more zing. Electrocution is always an effective option. Did you know that the idea of electric chair was developed in the 1800s by a dentist named Alfred P. Southwick? He came up with the idea of electric chair based on his dental chair. That's not exactly comforting to people with dental phobias now, is it? I don't have a chair to strap you into, but I do have the power to shoot a series of strong electrical currents in my body cavity. If the current zaps your heart or brain, you'll die quickly. If it doesn't, you'll have some nasty burns, and your heart will go into I cannot read that. Fibrillation. I think it's supposed to be like a defibrillator. Defibrillator. Something like that. Defibrillation. Hold on. I gotta look up how to actually say this. Sorry, I don't... Okay, I guess I can't actually look up a way to say it. Okay. Which will generally kill you if you don't have any help. And I think we've already established that you don't have anyone here to help you. Help was a mere was a word that Millie wanted desperately to scream. She knew it was a waste of energy she needed to conserve in case she had any hope of survival. So what do you think, Cupcake? Electrocution? You'd be shocked at how effective it is. An electrifyingly good time. Another chuckle. Millie had once experienced a shock unplugging a hairdryer from the wall socket in a badly wired hotel room. She felt the electricity tear painfully up her arm, and for a few moments was as out of breath as if someone had punched her in the stomach. She didn't want to think about how an electric current strong enough to kill her would feel. A good time for you, but not for me, she said. On Sunday afternoon, when most other kids were at the mall or the movie or hanging out at one another's houses, Millie walked downtown to the public library. It was about a 20-minute walk, so the walk there and back with an hour or two of browsing and reading sandwiched in between was a pleasant way to spend a Saturday afternoon in solitude. Today she roamed the library stacks looking for suitably dark reading material. She had finished The Call of Cthulhu and was disappointed that there wasn't any more books by Lovecraft on the shelves. "Hey," a voice called from behind her. She gasped and jumped, but then she saw what was doing. "I didn't mean to startle you," he said. "But, hey, do you know—" Oh, wait, hang on, sorry. "I didn't mean to startle you," he said. "Hey, did you read that Lovecraft book?" Millie couldn't believe that the stars had aligned such that she had run into Dylan outside of school. "Yes, I loved it. I was kind of hoping that they had more stuff by him here." Dylan said. "I bet I can pick something you like. Give me a sec." With a thoughtful expression, he scanned the shelves, then pulled out a thin book with a black cover and handed it to her. "The Lottery and Other Stories" by Shirley Jackson, she read. Okay, hang on. Really quickly, I do want to actually see, because, you know what, no, I'll do it after the stream. Yep, You'll Love Her is the perfect book to continue your classic horror pursuits. "Hey," he said, "I was reading that at that table over there until I saw you. If you want to sit there and read, too, you can." "Okay." Millie worked hard not to show how happy this invitation made her. "I've got to admit, I've got an ulterior motive inviting you," Dylan said. "I want to see that look on your face once you finish reading that first short story in that book." Does it have like 3 short stories in total? Because if so, fast breath frights. They sat at a table across from each other and read in companionable silence. Really loved talking with Dylan, but being quiet with him was nice too. She read The Lottery. The growing feeling of suspense, and when she got to the ending, Dylan laughed. You're reading with your mouth hanging open," he said. "It's the ultimate surprise ending, isn't it?" "It really is." "Say," Dylan said, "I was thinking that after I check out my books, I might have a cup of tea at the cafe next door. Would you like to do that too? I mean, you don't have to drink tea just because I do. You can have coffee or hot chocolate." "Tea sounds nice," Millie said. "This afternoon was turning out to be nice." Surprisingly so. Millie had passed you and me coffee and tea hundreds of times, but had never gone inside. It was a pleasant place with exposed brick walls displaying paintings by local artists. Sitting with Dylan over their steaming cups, Millie said, I keep doing that. I go straight into the thing without actually pausing. Millie said, "I think I might like to be a librarian someday." She had never told anyone this before. She'd always been afraid of getting laughed at. "That'd be cool," Dylan said. "You love books?" "I love books, and I love quiet," Millie said, sipping her Earl Grey tea. "You should totally dress in a goth librarian style, too," Dylan said. You could put your hair up and wear your jet jewelry in a black Victorian dress and those old-fashioned glasses that just clip on your nose. What are they called? Pince nez? Dylan grinned. Yeah, those. And when you dress like that and shush people in the library, it'll scare the living daylights out of them. Millie laughed, and she had to admit it felt good. School days were better when she knew she'd had lunch with Dylan. She could spend the morning looking forward to seeing him in the afternoon. Thinking about what they'd say to each other. Sometimes she felt a little silly for spending so much time thinking about a boy. But Dylan wasn't just an ordinary boy. Oh dear Lord, why is this going this way? Today when she got home from school, her grandpa met her in the cluttered living room. I thought we might go to the school holiday bazaar, bazaar, I think that's how you say it, bazaar, tonight, he said. Instead of his usual cardigan, he was wearing an ugly green pullover sweater decorated with creepy smiling Christmas trees. The holiday bazaar is stupid, Millie rolled her eyes. Just a bunch of people selling ugly Christmas tree ornaments made out of popsicle sticks. Oh, and I thought the bazaar was kind of fun when I was a teacher. This year there's a chili supper, and you can choose between meat and vegetarian chili. And there's an all-you-can-eat cookie buffet. Think about those words for a minute, Millie. He paused dramatically. All-you-can-eat cookie buffet. You've really done your homework on this, haven't you? Millie said. She would never say it out loud, but it was kind of cute how excited Grandpa was. No. I can't speak. I can't speak English. Okay. I can see that. No, wait, I take cookies very seriously. I can see that, Millie said. Millie sighed. Maybe just this time she could let the old man have something he wanted. The two of them didn't get out much, and it might be good for him to be among other people. Okay, I guess I'll go, even if it's not my thing. Great, Grandpa said. We'll leave in about an hour. He looked up and down. Maybe you could wear something else besides black? Something, a little more festive. Don't push it, Grandpa, Millie said. She couldn't believe she agreed to attend such a lame event. But maybe Dylan would be there. Unlike Doris, like her. And they could make fun of it together. The school halls were sparkly with Christmas lights. Can we seriously go back to count the ways? I'm gonna go back to Freddy. Oh. Okay, next page. Millie had been correct in predicting the ugliness of the ornaments for sale, but the vegetarian chili was tasty, and there was an impressive variety of cookies on the cookie buffet, including gingerbread, which was her favorite. After she and Grandpa ate their fill, she wandered the hallways, giving the impression of looking at the craft displays, but really looking for Dylan. As you do. She found him in the second floor hallway, but not in the way she wanted to. Oh, wait. Oh, I just remembered. I think this is the part that I'm thinking of right now. Let's find out. Dylan was standing in front of a booth, selling reindeer ornaments made out of candy canes. But he wasn't alone. He was with Brooke Harrington, a blandly pretty blonde girl. I can't believe I said that. Blandly pretty blonde. Never mind. Who was in Millie's U.S. government class. Dilly. Dylan and Brooke were holding hands and laughing about some private joke in a very couplish way. Millie bit her lip to keep from gasping. She turned around and ran through the hall and down the stairs. She had to find Grandpa. She had to get out of here. "Where's the fire, Dracula's daughter?" some random kid asked her. She didn't even bother to process who it was. They were all the same way. She ran to the cafeteria, skating the crowd for Grandpa's ugly Christmas sweater. Unfortunately, a lot of people were wearing ugly Christmas sweaters. She finally found Grandpa sitting next to the drinks table, sipping coffee and chatting with a couple of other old men who were also retired teachers. Oh, well, that's nice. The guys apparently shopped at the same ugly Christmas sweater store as Grandpa. We have to go, Millie hissed at him. Grandpa knitted his brow in concern. Are you sick or something? No, I just have to go. Why couldn't he move faster? Okay, honey. He gave the other old guys a look that seemed to say, they're so emotional at this age. And then said, see you later, fellas. Merry Christmas. In the car, Grandpa said, what's the matter, honey? Did somebody at school say something that hurt your feelings? Millie couldn't believe Grandpa could be so stupid. Nobody at the school said anything to me because nobody at school said anything to me because nobody at school ever says anything to me. Nobody at the school cares whether I live or die. She stifled a sob and wiped under her eyes to try to stop the tears from flowing. I can remember feeling that way when I was your age. I wouldn't go back to being 14 for anything. Not even with all the years I'd get back. The tears weren't stopping. Millie looked out the window and tried to ignore Grandpa. He couldn't possibly understand. Nobody could understand, especially people who got excited about Christmas sweaters and cookies and all that fake happy stuff that filled their minds to ward off their fear of death. Millie wasn't afraid of death right now. Death felt like her only friend. Back to fun time, Freddy boy! My, we certainly are picky, aren't we? The voice said. For somebody who wants the end result, we're awfully fussy about how to achieve it. But there are lots more options. I feel like a waiter talking my way through the menu at a fancy restaurant. The difference, of course, is that the one menu gets you fed, the other menu gets you dead. That kind of rhymes. Actually, no, it does rhyme. What do I say? Low rumbling laughter. Oh, I crack myself up. Since I was talking about food, how about boiling? Did you know that Henry VIII? Oh yeah, Henry VIII. Henry VIII made boiling alive the form of punishment during his reign. Funny, they call it boiling alive because goodness knows you don't stay alive for very long. But I could easily flood my insides with water, then use my energy stores to bring the temperature up, and up. First, it would feel like a nice warm bath, but then it would just keep getting hotter and hotter. I wonder if you turn red like a lobster. I meant to say lobster. Oh, lobster. That'd be me. I'm not even red, I'm green. Oh my lord. Lab. Turn red like a lobster, not like a lobster. Oh my lord, okay. Millie sat miserably at her table in the cafeteria, knowing she was doomed to eat alone. She opened an anthology of horror stories, and she had checked out from the school library. Books, at least, would keep her company. But then Dylan sat down across from her, acting like absolutely nothing was wrong. Hey, he said. How can you just sit across from me like that? Millie said. He was so casual, opening up his ketchup packets and creating a little red puddle on his plate. I take offense to that. I do that all the time. Just like always. Like, what? Oh, wait, like what? Dylan said, looking lost. I sit here every day. I would think you'd want to sit with Brookie. Brookie. Millie said. Brooke has a different lunch period than me. He obliviously dipped a nugget into his ketchup puddle and popped it in his mouth. Millie felt anger rising up all the way from her toes. So I'm what? Your backup? Her understudy? Dylan rubbed his face like he was tired. I'm sorry, Millie. I'm trying to keep up. I really am. But you're not really making any sense. Millie couldn't understand how he could be so stupid. Stupid? Dylan, I saw you with her at the bazaar last night. Yeah, so? She never felt so exasperated. You were holding hands with her. You were clearly together. Yeah, so, he repeated, but then a look of realization dawned in his face. Wait, Millie, did you think you and I were dating? Millie swallowed hard and told herself not to cry. You noticed me, brought a book, took me out for tea. Of course I thought we might, in the future, date. I mean, wow, Dylan said. I'm sorry if I misled you. I mean, you're really great and really pretty and everything, but I never meant to make you think that we were anything other than friends. Haven't you had a friend who's a boy, but who's not, a boyfriend? Hannah had been Millie's only friend, but had abandoned her. There was no way Millie was sharing this fact with Dylan. Of course I have, but Dylan, you told me I was the only cool person you've met at the school. I did, but that was like my first day. I've met other cool people since then. Broke it. Millie's voice dripped with sarcasm. What, you don't approve of broke? Every time I Dylan said. She's blonde and basic, Millie said. There's no need to mince words. The truth was the truth. Have you ever had a conversation with her? Dylan asked. Do you even know what she's like? Had Millie ever heard Brooke say anything? She was quiet in the U.S. government class. Millie assumed because she had nothing interesting or important to say. I've never talked to her, Millie said. I don't talk to just anyone. Millie shook his head. Dylan shook his head. Oh my lord. Well, Brooke isn't just anyone. She's smart and well-read and nice. She wants to be a veterinarian. Why does it matter to you what color her hair is? Dylan looked at her so hard that it was like he was looking through her. Millie, I'm disappointed in you. You, of all people with the black wardrobe and black eyeliner and black nail polish, it seems like you would know better than to judge a person based on her appearance. You don't like when people do it to you, and yet you're guilty of the very same crime. So, I'm pretty sure that's called hypocrisy. Hypocrisy. He stood up. I think this conversation is over. As the winter holidays approached, Millie's mood became grimmer and grimmer. The cold temperature and the gray skies and the stripped bar trees all matched her emotional state perfectly. Cheerful holiday lights and plastic Santas on people's houses filled her with anger, and the sound of Christmas carols in stores and other public places enraged her. She felt that she couldn't be held responsible for her actions if she had to hear Winter Wonderland one more time. Holiday cheer, peace on earth, and goodwill were just lies, people told themselves. Winter was a season of death. Sorry, I'm really tired for some reason. At dinner, vegetable stir-fry for Millie, chicken and vegetable stir-fry for Grandpa. Grandpa said, So, are you excited that tomorrow's the last day of school before winter break? Not really, Millie said. Listen, I've been meaning to tell you, I'm not celebrating Christmas this year. Grandpa's face fell. Not celebrating Christmas? But why ever not? Millie poked at a piece of her broccoli with a fork. I refuse to pretend to be happy on some particular day just because society tells me I'm supposed to be. It's not about society, it's about family, Grandpa said. It's about getting together and enjoying each other's company. On Christmas Eve, your aunt and uncle and cousins are coming over. And your mom and dad are going to Skype. Skype exists in the FNAF universe. Skype exists in the FNAF universe. So they can be a part of things. We'll have a big dinner and exchange gifts, and then we'll have some hot chocolate and cookies and play board games. Millie felt nauseous at the thought of all that false cheer. I'll be here because I don't have any place to go, but I refuse to participate in the festivities. Is that a fact? Grandpa said. He pushed his plate away. Listen, Millie, you've never been a particularly cheerful child. Heaven knows you were the fussiest baby I've ever seen. And when you were a toddler, your temper tantrums were legendary. But I feel like you're especially unhappy here with me now. And I'm genuinely sorry for that. I'm an old man, and I'm no expert in what young girls like, but I've tried to make things as nice for you as I can. Maybe it would have been better if you had chosen to move abroad with your mom and dad. Or abroad with your mom and dad. I know it must be hard to be so far from them, or to be so far away from them. I don't miss my parents, Millie shouted. But even as she said it, she wasn't sure it was true. Sure, they made her crazy sometimes when they were together. But it was weird having them so far away, and Skyping with them on Sunday nights wasn't clearly enough to make up for their absence from her everyday life. It didn't help that she tended to be in a bad mood during her Skype sessions. Mad at them for being gone. And so the conversation weren't always pleasant. Okay, maybe you don't, Grandpa said, but something's been eating you lately. Maybe a problem at school or falling out with a friend. I'm not saying I could help, but sometimes it just helps to have someone to listen. Against her will, a picture of Dylan popped into her head. Dylan was the first guy she met. Oh wait, Dylan, the first day she met him, when she couldn't believe this cool new guy would have sat anywhere he wanted to go in the cafeteria, chose to sit right across from her. That never happened anymore. Now he sat at a table with those guys who never talked about anything but fantasy role-playing games. Was it Dungeons and Dragons? And Millie sat alone with a book for company. I told you, I don't have any friends, Millie said. Well, maybe you should try to make one, Grandpa said. You don't have to be a social butterfly if you don't want to. But everybody needs at least one good friend. You don't understand, or you don't know what I need, Millie stood up from the table. I'm going to do my homework. She didn't really have homework, since tomorrow was the last day before break, but she'd say whatever she had to get out of there. And I'm going to my workshop, Grandpa said. You're not the only one who can storm out of a room, you know, girlie. It was the first time since she had moved in with Grandpa that he sounded like he was actually mad at her. In her room, Millie opened up her laptop, went to YouTube. Again, YouTube exists in the FNAF universe. Was she watching Matt Pat trying to count the ways? And typed in Cadian music videos. She clicked on Death Mask, her favorite song. I wonder if this is actually like an artist now. The video was filled with images of ravens and bats and circling vultures. In the center of it all was Kurt Carrison himself, growling his way through the morbid lyrics, his black hair spiky. Sorry, I thought I heard audio disturbance. His complexion pallid, his black eyeliner perfectly applied. Millie felt like Curtian, I cannot pronounce it correctly, might be the one person on the planet who understands her. But who was she kidding? Nobody would. Alright, hold on. I need to stretch quick. Oh. Man, yeah. Sorry, I really have to stretch right now. Alright. Anyways, back to what I was doing. Pangotane? Oh, wow. Hold up, Pangotane's in this. Wow. I am honestly surprised. Huh. That is weird. That's I mean, something like Ewok Sharadi and CG5 even appeared on my stream at one point. I remember that. That was like 2 years ago. No, 3. Actually, probably 4 years ago at this point. Anyways, back to this topic. Jeez, I am really not good at this. This is the first time I'm really doing an audiobook. I mean, I'm not really good at it. I mean, you don't expect someone to be good at the first attempt and all that. Okay, obviously I'll just kind of think about if I want to actually make this a thing or not. Okay. Please don't boil me alive, Millie said. She had to figure out a way to escape, suddenly, desperately. She wanted to live. Not boiling. Well, understandable. By all accounts, it is a nasty way to go. People who observed boiling during Henry VIII's time said it was so sickening they would have preferred to see a beheading. Ooh, that's a good one we haven't even talked about yet. Decapitation! He said it like it was such a happy word. There are so many ways to chop off a head, of course. Oh, wait. There are many ways to chop off a head. Of course. And if the blade is sharp enough, it's fairly quick and painless. That being said, if the blade isn't sharp enough, well, poor Mary, Queen of Scots, had to get 3 hacks with the headman's dull old axe before her noggin was liberated from her body. The guillotine was quick and clean, though. It didn't require any particular skill on the part of the executioner, which made it easy to get rid of all those rich snots during the French Revolution. They just lined up and ran them all through the guillotine, like an assembly line, or rather, a disassembly line. The voice paused, again to chuckle. Whatever it was, it seemed to be having a good time at Millie's expense. Saudi Arabia, where your parents are, am I right? Still uses beheading as their preferred form of capital punishment. They use a sword, which I find rather stylish and dramatic. Saudi Arabia, Millie thought. Her parents were so far away, so unable to help her, and now she was facing down death. She strangely felt more love for them than she ever had. Sure, they were weird, and they made strange decisions and stupid mistakes, but she knew they loved her. She thought of her dad's awful jokes and of her mom reading her story after story at bedtime when she was little. Maybe her parents were different from other kids' parents because they always had taken care of her basic needs, and they always made her feel so loved and safe. Millie wanted to be safe. Millie, at least come downstairs and say hello, Grandpa called up the stairs. It was Christmas Eve, and Grandpa had been blasting Christmas music all day long, singing Silver Bells and White Christmas, and others of Millie's least favorites off-key, in the kitchen while he baked the ham and decorated the cookies. From the level of noise downstairs, Millie assumed that her aunt and uncle and cousins have arrived. This fact did not fill her with joy. Nothing did. Millie reluctantly dragged herself downstairs. They were gathered around an antique glass punch bowl that Grandpa had dug out from who knows where in this house, full of stuff. They were wearing Christmas sweaters, all of them, even her annoying little cousins. Aunt Sherry had on some wearable abomination that was a reindeer that had a light-up nose. Uncle Rob, her dad's goofy brother, wore a red sweater with candy canes on it. Cameron and Hayden wore matching elf sweaters. It was all so hideous that Millie feared her eyes would bleed. Merry Christmas! Merry Christmas, Aunt Sherry greeted her, opening her arms for a hug. Millie did not move towards her. Hello, she said, her voice dripping icicles. How does that even work? Off to a funeral, Millie, Uncle Rob said, nodding towards her head to toe, black and purple clothing. He always said this to her, and apparently never stopped finding it hilarious. I wish, Millie said, but it'd be in an honest, sad environment than a fake happy one. And she would certainly prefer funeral organ music to be forced to listen to Winter Wonderland. I think it means then being forced to listen to that again. Millie isn't celebrating Christmas this year, Grandpa said, but at least she's agreed to grace with us with her presence. How can you not celebrate? How can you not want to celebrate Christmas? Hayden said, looking up at Millie with a big innocent blue eye, with big innocent blue eyes. Christmas is awesome. He held a little lisp. That came up whenever he said Christmas and awesome. Gotta work my speech there, buddy. Which Millie supposed some people would find cute. Again. And presents are awesome, Cameron said, pumping his fist in excitement. Both kids were so hyper, it was like their parents had poured them full of black coffee. Millie wondered if there had been a time when she got this excited over the holiday, or whether she had always known better. Our culture is already too materialistic, Millie said. Why do you want more stuff? Her aunt and uncle and cousins all looked uncomfortable. Good. Somebody in this family needed to tell the truth. Sherry plastered a smile on her face. Millie, won't you at least have a cup of eggnog? Drinking eggnog is like drinking phlegm. I think that's what it is, phlegm. Millie said, really, how had such a disgusting beverage become a traditional part of celebration? Eggnog and fruitcake both seemed more like they would be a part of a punishment rather than a celebration. What's phlegm? Hayden said. It's that gross slimy stuff in your throat and nose when you have a cold, Aunt Sherry said. Cameron raised his cup. Yum, egg snot. Ew! 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 He said, then took a big showy drink that left an eggy mustache on his upper lip. Okay, that is honestly disgusting. Ew. Millie couldn't take it. She had to get out of there. I'm going for a walk, she said. Can we come too? Hayden asked. No, Millie said. I need to be alone. Well, don't stray too far, Grandpa said. We're eating dinner in an hour. As Millie headed out the door, Grandpa called for her to remember her coat. She ignored him. All the houses in the neighborhood had extra cars in their driveways, no doubt because of visiting family members celebrating the holidays. All these people acting the same, doing the same thing, presents and eggnog and hypocrisy. Well, Millie was different, and she wasn't going to participate. Hypocrisy, she thought again. And this time the word stunned her. Dylan had said she was a hypocrite because she judged Brooke by appearance, but boys, even boys who seemed cool like Dylan, were fooled by appearances. If a conventionally pretty blonde girl paid any attention to them, they'd think she was a saint and a genius rolled into one. No way was Millie a hypocrite. Hypocrite. She was a truth teller. And if some people couldn't handle the truth, that was their problem. After one lap around the block, she was feeling pretty cold, but there was no way she was going back into the house yet. Then an idea popped into her head. Grandpa's workshop had a little space heater. It would keep running. It could keep her warm. It could keep her toasty warm while she waited out the party. He was too busy hosting a lame holiday gathering to go into his workshop. It was a perfect place to hide. Grandpa kept a key under the flower pot beside the workshop floor. Millie found it, opened the door, and pulled the chain on the bare light bulb. Then, that lit the small, windowless space. She closed the door behind her, and pulled the She closed the door behind her and looked around. The place was even more crammed with stuff than it had been the last time she was there. Grandpa must have really been hitting the yard sales, flea markets, and salvage yards. Near his workbench was a rusty antique bicycle, the kind with a giant front wheel and a tiny back one. There were lots of those old mechanical toys too, a metal bank with a clown that flipped coins into its mouth, a jack-in-the-box that startled her when the jester doll inside jumped out, even though she'd known what would happen once she started turning the crank. There was Even one of those horrible grinning monkey dolls that clang cymbals together. Oh, it's that thing from Toy Story 3, that weird like little surveillance monkey or whatever. Why did Grandpa want all this stuff? And what did he plan to do with it? Repair it, then use it to clutter the house some more, she guessed? The strangest item among was tucked into a corner near the workshop. It was some kind of mechanical bear with a bow tie, top hat, and a creepy blank grin. It looked like it had once been painted white and pink, but years of neglect had left it a dingy gray. It was big enough for a person to climb inside its body cavity. Like in those in science fiction movies, when people drove giant robots. The hinges on its limbs made it look as if parts had once moved. It must have been a figure from one of those old kids' attractions that featured creepy-looking animatronics. Why had little kids ever liked things that were nightmare-inducing? From the workshop, Millie heard laughter and yelling. Hayden and Cameron played in the backyard. She hadn't thought to lock the workshop door from the inside. What if they tried to come in? She couldn't just let them find her. They'd go tell the adults, and then she'd be dragged back into the house and sentenced to mandatory celebration. She's acting like it's a punishment. Millie found herself staring at the old animatronic bear. Now, just as a curiosity now, but a potential solution to a problem, she opened the door to its mechanical bear, to the mechanical bear's body cavity, crawled inside, and shut the door behind her. Darkness enveloped her. It was so much better than those annoyingly twinkly light and garish bright Christmas sweaters. This was perfect. No one would find her here. She could go back to the house after she heard Uncle Rob and Aunt Sherry's car pulling out of the driveway. So what if she missed a Skyping call with her parents? It served them right for being so far away from her on Christmas. "Ted, it's time to eat dinner," Grandpa called out the back door. "Millie, you come in too if you can't hear me." Cameron and Hayden came running in, and their cheeks pink from the chilly air. "Smells great in here," Cameron said. "Well, that's because I cooked you up a feast," Grandpa said. "Ham and sweet potatoes and rolls, and your mom's green bean casserole." Ew, kind of sounds disgusting. "You boys didn't happen to see Millie while you were out there, did you?" "Nope, didn't see her," Hayden said. "Grandpa, why is she so weird?" Grandpa chuckled. "She's 14. You'll be weird when you're 14, too. Now go wash your hands. And before we sit down to eat." At the table, Grandpa carved the big, sticky, beautiful ham. "I glazed this thing with Coca-Cola." "Why would you do what?" he said. "Found the recipe on the internet." "Oh, that explains it." "I've been looking up a lot of recipes since Millie moved in. Most of them vegetarian, so she wouldn't starve herself to death. But I bought this weird fake turkey loaf thing for her at the grocery store. When she gets back, she can have it with the green bean casserole and sweet potatoes." "I keep feeling like we ought to go and look for her," Sherry said. "Oh, she'll show up when she gets hungry, or when she feels like she's made her point," Grandpa said. "She and that cat of hers aren't that different. She's just that age, you know. Now, speaking of hungry, who wants some ham?" "I don't have a sword like a Saudi Arabia executioner, silly Millie," the voice said. "But I do have a sharp sheet of metal I could pass through my chamber. It could pass up the level of your throat, or it could hit your lower and bisect you. And bisection is a sure way to go, too. Either way, the job will get done. I think it will be smooth, like Madame Guillotine, instead of a slow, dull hacking like Mary, Queen of the Scots, experienced. But I'm not 100% sure. This will be my first attempt at decapitation. Yours too, but, well, it will also be your last." As the voice laughed at its latest witticism, yeah. Millie pushed on the walls of a chamber that trapped her, that didn't budge, but then she saw a tiny crack of sunlight, of light shining through the side of the door. Maybe if she could slip something through, a tool of some sort, into the crack, she could somehow pry the door open. But what could she use as a tool? She took a mental survey of her jewelry. Her earrings were too small and breakable. Her necklace was an unhelpful string of jet beads. But there was the silver cuff bracelet on her wrist. She pulled it off and pushed and bent it until it was about ruler straight. The end seemed like the right size to slip in through the crack of the door. But she was too afraid to test it, too worried that her captor would notice. "Millie," the voice said, "are you still with me? A decision must be made." Millie thought if she had lowered her head and curled up into a little ball, when the blade shot through, it would miss her, and she'd have to be quick, though, and make sure she got her whole head out of the way, or else she'll get scalped. If the blade came through lower to bisect her, then she really had to flatten down to the bottom of the small space. "Is there any chance that you can let me go?" she asked. "Anything I can do to... anything I can give you in exchange for my life?" "Lamb chop, there's nothing more... Lamb chop, there's nothing I want from you except your life." Millie took a deep breath. "Okay. Then to decapitation it is." "Really?" The voice sounded tremendously pleased. "Good choice. It's a classic. I promise you won't be disappointed." The low rumbling laugh. "You won't be disappointed because you'll be dead." Millie felt more tears spring into her eyes. She had to be strong, but you could still cry and be strong at the same time. "Tell me when you're about to do it, okay? Just don't spring it on me." "Fair enough." That's me every time. "Fair enough. I suppose it's not like you're going anywhere. Give me a few minutes to get ready. You know what they say, prior preparation prevents poor performance." The chamber shook and rattled. Then the animatronic's eyes rolled back outward, away from the chamber. Millie waited, her heart pounded. Why had she ever wished for death? No matter how hard life would be, how depressing and disappointing, she wanted to live. If nothing else, she wanted a chance to apologize to Dylan for what she said about Brooke, and to ask if they could be friends again. She curled into a tiny ball as she could, tucking her head under her arms. Although, wouldn't you want to try to get all the way low? Because, like, she's trying to get into a ball, right? Like, it's just said, she's trying to curl into a little ball. Remember, the whole bisection thing, then the whole, decapitation. Because obviously, if it's high enough, it's decapitation. If it's low enough, it's going to be bisection. So you gotta, like, get, like, fully on the ground. You gotta, like, lay on your belly. You gotta, like, lay on your stomach, you know? She hoped harder that she'd ever hoped for anything, that she was low enough to miss the blade. "Millicent Fitzsimmons, you are hereby sentenced to die for crimes of humanity." "Wait," Millie said. "What does that mean, crimes of humanity?" "You," the voice said, "you have been rude and quick to anger. You have rushed to the judgment of others. You have been insufficiently grateful to those who have shown you nothing but loving kindness." The voice was right. Different incidences of her own rudeness and ingratitude played in her head like scenes from a movie she didn't want to see. "Guilty as charged," Millie said. "But why those crimes I have to die for? Those are just crimes that everybody is guilty of from time to time." "True," the voice said. "That's why they're crimes of humanity." But if there's something all humans are guilty of, then why do I have to die for them? The voice didn't answer, and Millie felt a small tingle of hope. Maybe she wouldn't have to take her chances by going up on the floor of a cavity. maybe she could just talk her way out of this. Yet, because, the voice said, you're the one who crawled into my belly. Again, sounds weird. Whimpering, Millie made herself as small as she possibly could in the bottom of the cavity. If she got out, she was going to make a point to be nicer to Grandpa. He really had been good to her, taking care of her. And being good to her, taking her in and putting up with her moods and teaching himself how to cook all those vegetarian recipes. In the spirit of the French Revolution, the voice said, I will now do a countdown in French before releasing the bread. Dos. Dos is Spanish. Okay, because I don't know how to say French, no, I'm just going to say Spanish. Dos. Tres. Quick as a shot, the blade sliced through the chamber. Grandpa brought out a platter of sugar cookies and set them on the coffee table. I'll be right back with the hot chocolate, he said in the kitchen. He finally broke down and called Millie's cell number. Her phone rang from the pocket of her jacket, which was hanging on the coat rack in the hall. Oh. Well, she would come back when she felt like she had proved her point. He hated to think of her being outside without a jacket, though. It was pretty chilly out there. Grandpa poured 5 cups of hot chocolate and topped them each with a generous handful of mini marshmallows. He carried the steaming cups on a tray in the living room. Who's ready for presents? He called. I am. Actually, I should say, well, both of them say I am. I am, Cameron shouted. I am, Hayden shouted even louder. Do you think we should wait for Millie? Sherry asked. She's not celebrating Christmas, remember? Rob said. Why should we wait for her if she's decided to be a brat? Grandpa didn't like the word brat being used to describe Millie. She wasn't a bad kid. She was just at a difficult age. She would come around. He crouched under the Christmas tree and arranged all the presents in a big pile so they'd be there for when she comes back. Well, that took about 2 hours. I mean, I knew that was going to take long. I mean, I still got the Stitch Raid epilogue thing to read, but I'll read that on my own time. I'm not going to read that on stream. But yeah. Okay. For my reading of the short story, I think it's pretty good. The only thing I don't like, though, is just the different kind of ways that it was doing. Like, it started off with Funtime Freddy, right? It started off with, like, Funtime Freddy. And then it started off with the whole backstory. I think it would have been better if the backstory was first, and then it would be the Count the Ways part. But then again, I guess they were trying to do it a little bit differently because the last 2 stories were kind of the same. Because, I mean, Into the Pit had that same kind of thing. You know, it would be Oswald going through... also, slight spoilers as well if you haven't actually read that, but I'm pretty sure you guys have. I mean, they've been out for a while. But, I mean, Into the Pit, like, Oswald... like, the book started off with Oswald basically just doing whatever he did every day. And then Into the Pit's main body came into play when he went into the time-traveling ball pit and all that. To Be Beautiful was kind of the same situation where, like, Sarah was just like, oh, I want to be beautiful and all that. Walks by a scrapyard, sees Eleanor, and then takes her in, and then Eleanor, does all that crap to her. And, yeah, like, I do like how they try to do a little bit something different with this story. Like, not pacing-wise, but more so, like, made. Like, instead of it being, pointless backstory and then, the animatronic comes into play. I think that they should have, although I do find it a bit boring, because, it was just like, I was waiting for Funtime Freddy parts. I wasn't even wanting to read the backstory. I was wanting to read Funtime Freddy's parts. But, yeah. Anyways, that's going to do it for this stream. I don't know if I'm actually going to do any more, given the whole thing that happened. So, yeah, I will think about that. But yeah, I hope you guys did enjoy the stream. I did read this for the first time, and it was interesting. Again, I might do it again. I'm not entirely sure. So yeah, see you guys. See you guys later.